In war, battles are rarely fought by individual nations. Cooperation with allies is key. From operating together in combat to rescuing down pilots, there is no substitute for having practice shoulder to shoulder. After our recent trip to Norway, we decided to follow the Royal Marines onto their next cold weather deployment. Working together isn't new. The UK have formed coalitions for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, to name but a few. But during these conflicts, nations were allocated an area of operations within which they operate independently, but towards a common goal. What would happen if they got even closer than that? Since 1664, Royal Marines have been a part of the naval fleet, but now they have new aircraft carriers to operate from. If you want to test your capability, you need to do it somewhere where the conditions push you to your limits.
I'm joining Marines from 4-2 Commando as they team up with their US and Icelandic allies in a joint exercise. And where better than here in Iceland.
So I'm a Staff Sergeant Swab. I'm with Echo Company 26. I'm the Weapons Platoon Sergeant. Working with the UK Marines actually has been pretty seamless. Some of us have actually had a lot of experience working with the UK in the past, whether it was on combat deployments or other training missions. Speak the same language, have the same lingo. Really, it's a pretty good fit all in all. We swap tactics, talk about how they do certain things, talk about how we do certain things, and really just getting out there and getting it done and seeing how it looks on the ground.
I'm First Lieutenant Olajide. I'm Weapons Platoon Commander for Echo Company Victor 26. So an exercise like Northern Viking 22 is so that the US side and the UK side can build and start sharing those standard operating procedures with one another, figure out what works, what doesn't, and take the best of both sides, essentially. Iceland's a pretty beautiful country. The weather is a little bit bipolar. It consistently changes. You don't know what necessarily to plan for, at least from my side. You'll go out expecting one thing and the weather will change rapidly. There's a lot of volcanic, rocks and kind of harsh terrain, I would say, to operate in.
Wherever they are around the world, the tasks Marine face aboard ship vary hugely.
And then launch it off into that.
But with aircraft taking part in any combat, one role they are ready for is rescuing pilots and aircrew.
So I'm Captain Sam, and I'm M Company's training officer from 4-2 Commando. So there's a lot of interest in the north at the moment, therefore we need to learn how to operate in this environment, develop our own SOPs and TTPs. So 4-2 Commando provides the Navy with a JPR capability, which is Joint Personnel Recovery, recovery of personnel and/or an asset in potentially a contested environment. So we're working alongside the USMC. They've been conducting or have had TRAP for a long time. A lot of our doctrine is mirrored off of them. What we can do is pick the best of both and then take the capability forward.
So talking about TRAP, which stands for Tactical Recovery of Aircraft and Personnel. In short, TRAP is basically for rescuing downed pilots. Whether they're down, they're injured, the aircraft crashed, or it was shot down. The whole purpose in TRAP is so people can come in and rescue the downed pilots and get rid of the aircraft if the situation calls for it.
So a JPR operation has 5 phases. Phase 1 is the report. So phase 2, the locate. That's essentially us understanding exactly where they are and exactly who they are as well, so authenticating them as well. So phase 3 is support. Phase 4, the recovery phase, that's where ourselves and an enabling element we'd be in the recovery vehicles. So for us, Merlin Mark IV, and then above us will be a stack of various aircraft in order to get the recovery vehicles safely to the location of the RCF environment.
So we've got both of the CH-53s have just landed. It's a mixture of Royal Marines and USMC. We've got, it looks like they're beginning to create a cordon, so some sort of defence and security around the downed pilot that's just here. So that'll enable either side to come on and extract the casualty back onto the aircraft. They'll likely collapse the security there and then extract back onto the ship. So it's pretty exciting.
Tactical scenario, aircraft went down. We got indication that the pilots had good shoots. So we had a trap force stood up that was basically a conglomerate of US Marines and Royal Marines. Building that trap package, insert in, find them, reach the crash site, triage the casualties, and then prep them for extract.
So two casualties have been sustained. So treatment's been rendered the max that we can give them for the time being. So right now we're putting them on stretchers and spacesuits so they can stay warm and not go into any kind of like hypothermic shock. And right now we're preparing to move them as safely as possible with as much presence of security as possible, so in the safest sense that we can.
Just overview, like what's just happened there.
We sort of run through a planning cycle of how we're going to build up to do, we call it joint personnel recovery, they call it trap, and how basically we would, the actions on how we would insert on an isolated person, what we'd conduct, and then how we would extract them, obviously depending on the threat.
Go on dash 2 and 2 IPs. Correct, and all Royal Marines will go on dash 1. Solid.
All US Marines, both IPs, we're going to drop them off.
Copy. I'm going to try and stay close to the boss. I'm going to try and get a seat close to the ramp.
Yeah, check that out.
Time.
Just checking my time. So I do the demo.
Okay.
If this were a real situation, I'd end up wiring that thing up.
Yeah.
On a real aircraft, I'd probably end up using C4, a couple of thermites, about 200 feet of det cord. I'd have to push these guys out about 200 meters just so that they're clear of the blast. And then the time fuse, which is a delayed detonation system, that would be set to about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So from the point that I pull it and we all start moving, we have 5 minutes to get that 200 meters.
Why do you need to destroy it?
So it's really just mission protocol, like depending on what they ask us. So in this situation, down aircraft, we're gonna have to leave it. We don't want anybody else to be able to recover that. Take key things out of it, like mapping systems, radio systems, any navigation, black box, anything secure or classified, can't let them have it, so we gotta destroy it on site.
And then you're gonna do what? Just?
And then exfil.
As well as being here to practice their ability to recover personnel, the UK and US forces are here to demonstrate their wider commitment to the High North. The region is under threat by climate change and political instability. To ensure peace continues, cooperation between NATO allies is crucial. The concept of a future commando force has drawn lots of interest. But since their restructure, 4-2 Commando have, in some respect, gone back to their roots. They've stepped away from the infantry role they filled during the global war on terror and instead assumed more amphibious operations. Out at sea, aboard the USS Arlington, they're planning a raid. We caught up with them as they came ashore, USMC style.
So they've just landed from the helos and they're now attacking in this direction up here. You can see the Marines stacked up just on the side, and it's a mixed contingent of Royal Marines and USMC all taking part in this attack together.
Going right. Front one.
So the aim is for us is to what we'd like to be. So we've done it in the cold weather environment. What we would like to do is in the other sort of 3 arduous environments.
Yeah.
So jungle, desert and urban.
Yeah.
If we can get those ticks in the box and train in those environments alongside the Americans or sort of in isolation even, but then with the sort of end game to try and train alongside these guys, you know, we'll be a pretty formidable and potent force.
Yeah, right. Well, you can see that look pretty swept up there already, I suppose, after like a fairly short amount of time.
From my own experience as a Royal Marine, and from what I've seen from 4-2 Commando over the past week, it looks to me like they're ready for whatever challenges they may have to face. Now, all that's left to do is extract back to USS Arlington. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on our other military videos. Let us know in the comments where you want us to go next.